Gopijana Vallabha Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopijana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Vishnupada Prabhupada Pariyajikacharya Ashtottashata Sri Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Vishnupada Prabhupada Pariyajikacharya Ashtottashata Sri Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrindaj ki Grandhara Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, titled Prahlada, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. We are continuing the same text number 23 and 24. Shri Prahlada Uvacha Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atmanivedanam Iti Pumsharpita Vishnu Bhaktische Navalakshana Kriyeta Bhagavatyadha Tanmanye Aditham Uttamam. Shri Prahlada Uvacha Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atmanivedanam Iti Pumsharpita Vishnu Bhaktische Navalakshana Kriyeta Bhagavatyadha Tanmanye Aditham Uttamam. Adhitam Uttamam. Shri Prahlada Uvacha Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atmanivedanam Iti Pumsharpita Vishnu Bhaktische Navalakshana Kriyeta Bhagavatyadha Tanmanye Adhitam. best friend. Prahlad Maharaj said, hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship with 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming his servant, considering the Lord one's best friend, and surrendering everything unto him. In other words, serving him with the body, mind, and words. These 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. One who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired complete knowledge. So today we are discussing Sakyam. Sakyam, purport. In regard to worshipping the Lord as a friend, the Agastya Samhita states that a devotee engaged in performing devotional service by Shravanam and Kirtanam sometimes want to see the Lord personally, and for this purpose he resides in the temple. Elsewhere there is this statement, O my Lord, Supreme Personality and Eternal Friend, although you are full of bliss and knowledge, you have become the friend of the residents of Vrindavana. How fortunate are these devotees. In this statement, the word friend is specifically used to indicate intense love. Friendship, therefore, is better than servitude. In the stage above Dasya Rasa, the devotee accepts the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a friend. This is not at all astonishing, for when a devotee is pure in heart, the opulence of his worship of the deity diminishes as spontaneous love for the personality of Godhead is manifested. In this regard, Sridhar Swami mentions Sridama Vipra, who expressed to himself his feelings of obligation, thinking, life after life, may I be connected with Krishna in this friendly attitude. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So in this purport, Sridama Vipra is mentioned. So Sudama is also another name is Sridama. So So Prabhupada very nicely, gave the purport for this, all 9 different processes. So in itself is self-explanatory. So I will try my best to do this service. Although different birds have different capacity to fly in the air, sky is unlimited, but according to their capacity they fly different heights. So according to my capacity and realization, I try to speak for the pleasure of their lordships and the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada. So in Sakyam, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that Dasya Rasa, a devotee accepts as a beginning in a awe and reverence. So this is superior compared to the Shantarasa. So in the both Shantarasa and Dasya-rasa, devotee is know the opulence of the Supreme Lord, and out of respect he serves the Lord. But whereas when he progresses further, when his devotional service is intensified, he doesn't see the Lord in his opulent form. So pretty much we see Sakya Rasa, so nowhere in Vaikuntha planets. So we pretty much see Sakya Rasa and above Rasas in the Goloka Vrindavan, in his personal abode, Vrajadam. So their devotee doesn't consider that the Supreme Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord. They consider he is one of our mate. So he is my friend. So that's where we see in Krishna book where his Gopa friends, they climb on the shoulders of the Lord. They mock fight. And even when Lord entered the arena in Mathura, Kamsa's arena to fight. So after the wrestling match, all the Gopa friends were thinking, oh, so many times I defeated Krishna. And after that they went and they lifted Krishna and put him down. So, because they don't see Krishna as the Supreme Lord. In awe and reverence, they don't see it. But out of spontaneous love, they serve the Lord as their Sakyas. But as a practicing devotees, we are not at that stage. We are not at that stage to consider Lord in Sakya Rasa. So for our stage, so devotional service in practice, in sadhana bhakti. So in Nectar of Devotion further explains the friendship one can perform with the Lord. It is mentioned in the 11th chapter of Nectar of Devotion, Aspects of Transcendental Service. So in there, the heading Devotional Service in Friendship. It's very beautifully Srila Prabhupada explains at a sadhaka level what we can do for the Sakya of the Lord. So devotional service in friendship can be divided into 2 categories. The first is to act as the confidential servant of the Lord, and the other is to act as the well-wisher of the Lord. The devotee who has confidence in devotional service to the Lord systematically follows the rules and regulations with the faith that he will achieve the platform of transcendental life. The second type of devotional friendship is to become a well-wisher of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the Lord accepts a preacher as the most dear servant. Anyone who is preaching the confidential message of the Gita to the people in general is so dear to Krishna that no one can be equal to him in human society. So here Srila Prabhupada mentioned there are 2 categories devotional service in friendship. One is so faithfully rendering service to the Lord. So in Sanskrit it is called Viswas. So one is Vishwas and other one is Mitra. So for the friendship there are different synonyms. So sometimes friend is also called Suhrut. So very well-wisher, dear friend. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Suhrudam Sarvabhutanam. So he is the dearmost friend of everybody. Well-wisher. And Mitra is also synonym to the friend. Similarly, for Shraddha, one synonym to the faith is Shraddha. Another synonym to faith is Vishwas. So Shraddha is pretty much in the beginning stage. So as Shraddha progresses and it becomes more solidified and more fixed, so that is called Vishwas. In Chaitanya Charitamrita also we hear Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explaining about the Shraddha. Shraddha Sadbe Sudruda Nishchaya. Shraddha Sadbe Vishwasa Khaile. So Vishwasa Khaile. What is that Vishwas? Sudruda Nishchaya. He is very much firmly fixed that just by rendering devotional service to Krishna, so all other karma, sarva karma krutahai. So all other karmas are taken care. So that is Shraddha. Vishwasha. Vishwasha is the Sudruda Nishchaya. It's not the one we, Adav Shraddha, Tato Sadhu Sangha. In that stage, that Shraddha is required to start the devotional service, but in order to make friendship, so as Srila Prabhupada mentioned that with the faith that he will achieve the platform of transcendental life. So that faith is Vishwasa. So he understood that I don't have any other work in this world to perform. There is nothing above the devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Just by doing it, everything is taken care. And in this context, in the next paragraph, Srila Prabhupada gave case study of Draupadi. So Draupadi, she offers a prayer to the Lord. So when she was in difficulty, she says, Pratigna tava Govinda name bhakta pranashyati. So, oh Lord, you have promised, Pratigna tava Govinda name bhakta pranashyati. There is no diminution, there is no danger to the devotee. And she says, just by remembering things, just by remembering your promise, again and again, I am holding my life. Pratigna tava Govinda name bhakta pranashyati iti samsmritya. Again and again, she remembers the promise of the Lord. Pranan sandarayam aham. So I am holding my life. So for a sadhaka level, bhakti is not just a prosperity religion, because there are different religions in this world. They say, oh, you take my religion, you become prosperous and you achieve everything. But bhakti doesn't advocate only prosperity. Bhakti takes us beyond that, beyond the purusharthas, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. But in our life, as we are practicing, our karma may be stopped, but whatever the prarabdha karma we have, from that we face different obstacles in our life. But irrespective of what we go through, as in a normal friendship also, if somebody is going through some difficult situation, friends come and they help. And we also know that so-and-so friend is always there for me, to take care of me. If it may be health crisis, it may be relationship crisis, it may be financial crisis, we always look for a friend who can help us. So in a devotee's life, he makes a firm relationship with the Lord that he is my friend, he is my benefactor, he knows what is happening in my life and he is there for me. So that's what devotee, in friendship, he always look upon the Lord. So iti samsmritya. We always have to remember that Lord knows everything. So He is omnipresent, He is omniscient, and He is omnipotent. Is there anything that Lord cannot know in this world? Nothing. Because He is andantarastam, paramanucha antarastam. He is present everywhere, omnipresent Lord. And He knows before even happened. But as in the previous classes, Prabhu mentioned that Lord gives a situation to strengthen us. So in the Saturday class, His Grace, Radha Gopinath Prabhu was mentioning, so I asked for strength, He gave difficulty. So He is training us to completely finish the game and preparing us to go back. So knowing that any situation, Lord is present to help me, and He promised, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. He has given a biggest Bima policy, LIC policy, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. So yoga is the relation that we have with the Lord. So that connection we have with the Lord. And what is that connection? I am a servant of the servant of the servant. So He will protect our relationship with the Lord, and He also protect our kshema, that safely we will cross over this, the largest and the greatest material ocean. So He will assure that you just take shelter of my lotus feet, take shelter of my instructions, I will make sure that you will cross. So that's the beauty of devotional service. And this devotional service, how it started? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. So that's very, very important at any stage to again get that reassurance, get that confidence that Lord is my only benefactor, Lord is my only protector. So for that, Shravanam Kirtanam is very, very important. Even the unallied devotees, everybody aspire for that I want to hear the glories of the Lord. I want to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. Shravanam Kirtanam. And later Prabhupada mentioned in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion, he said, so first one is Vishwas. So very firm conviction that Lord is my protector, Lord is my benefactor, He knows everything. And any situation, taking shelter. And the next one is Mitra, well-wisher of the Lord. So Prabhupada mentioned that a preacher is on that platform, on the friendship platform in devotional service. So that's why, so we say why? Because even in the normal material condition, if friend is participating in some election, or if he is doing some work, we always try to go and help him. We try to canvass for him. So similarly, Lord's purpose in taking different incarnations is to reclaim the conditioned souls who come to the goodness and take them back. So an Acharya comes in that mood that he wants to assist the Lord. Similarly, devotee, as a practicing devotee, so our greatest joy is assisting the servants of the Lord. So we may not directly help or we may not directly serve the Lord, but when we engage in the preaching work, so that Krishna is considering, he is my most dear friend. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, so there is no one more dear in this world than the person who is preaching the glories of devotional service and helping them to become devotee. So that's the friendship we can do at the sadhaka level. But as we progress and we can come to the spontaneous devotional service, raganu bhakti, but beginning is this. So we have to focus on Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam and go gradually not just imitating, but naturally develop that. As we hear continuously Shravanam, one day it may click that, it's my constitutional position to serve the Lord. There is nothing in my life more important than rendering devotional service. So that comes from a quality of our engagement in devotional activities. So here Prabhupada mentioned that he systematically follows the rules and regulations. He says the devotee who has confidence in devotional service to the Lord systematically follows the rules and regulations. It's not just whimsically, he follows systematically. Say for example, if you are cooking, so you follow a recipe, you do it very systematically. So you don't put everything and anything and any step, you follow it systematically. Similarly, in devotional service, so you follow instructions of Guru, instructions of sadhus, instructions of Shastra very systematically. The first instruction is always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So that's the overall instruction. And how we do that? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. And the process we got is chanting the holy names of the Lord. And in chanting the holy names of the Lord, because, say for example, if somebody is very sick and doctor prescribed medicine, and if the patient is really want to get out of that sickness, disease, and he follows the prescription so diligently, so, very clear, pakka, everything, medicine, if it is morning 6 o'clock, he will take. Before 1 hour you have to take the medicine before you eat, and he follow everything. Why? He want to get out of that disease. So similarly, we are in that diseased condition of forgetfulness of Krishna. So the given process is chanting the holy names. So when we prioritize our sadhana systematically, following the rules and regulations that which were given in Nectar of Devotion, very nicely given, what needs to be done, what need not to be done, what need to be avoided. So all that very systematically plan it. So any project we do, we plan ahead. Similarly, for our sadhana also, daily sadhana, so we plan ahead. So my Guru Maharaj, Devamrita Maharaj, he says that your chanting actually starts a day before. Our chanting actually starts a day before, because we plan that tomorrow so and so time I get up and I dedicate this time, and that particular time I don't have anything else to do. So in this way he prioritizes the sadhana bhakti. So once we mature, when it becomes spontaneous, yes, chanting, I need not to separately endeavor to bring my mind back into the chanting. So he'll spontaneously brings, whenever he start chanting the name, automatically he will be able to absorb himself, because the mind completely engaged through the sadhana. So as we progress in our sadhana, we can, at the later stages when our anarthas are vanquished and we are pretty much study in the process and study in engaging our mind. So one can further advance to practice in the Raganuga Bhakti. So that automatically comes. So one need not to separately endeavor. So that automatical process will come if we are able to chant and hear systematically in a prioritized way. And in the Dasya Rasa, as we know that 5 rasas are there that every jiva can exchange with the Lord: Shanta Rasa, Dasya Rasa, Sakhya Rasa, Vatsalya Rasa, and Madhurya Rasa. So in the Sakhya Rasa, the below rasas, like dasya rasa and shanta rasa, both included in that. So that is, shanta rasa is at the level of awe and reverence. And when devotee matures further, yes, Lord is great, and I have to, and he knows his constitutional position, but not just knowing that, and he feels that, I want to serve the Lord. I want to serve the Lord. I want to take care of him. So he matures to dasya rasa. At the dasya rasa, he has the symptoms of shanta rasa, awe and reverence, and servitude. When he further progresses to sakya rasa, the symptoms of sakya rasa is there, dasya rasa is there, shanta rasa is there. It's like material elements. The earth contains the objects of below, that is water, and water contains its below. So earth contains the touch, sound, smell, and the sound, all those 5 elements. So below that, water contains below those 3. So similarly, in the Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, as it progresses, so it contains the previous one in full. But underlying for all of them is the servitude. So servitude starts from the second stage, second rasa, Dasya rasa, and then in the Sakya rasa also servitude is there. Vatsalya rasa also servitude is there. In the final Madhurya rasa also servitude is there. So at least we should not jumping to the upper artificially, at least we have to follow the servitude level. And whatever has to come as by the mercy of Guru and Shastra, and ultimately by the mercy of the Lord, so those automatically invoke as we progress. And here, purport Srila Prabhupada mentions that, so sometimes a devotee, he lies down in the temple of the Lord. Because previously we read from Archana purport that if you sleep in the temple of the Lord, so that is an offense. But here from the Agastya Samhita it is mentioned that sometimes devotee likes to lie down in the temple of the Lord, but he is not like a entry level person, a lazy person sleeping in the temple, but he is at the level an equality with the Lord, and he feels that this is my friend's home. So in that way he sleeps, but not in a not just some guest coming and lying here. So they are not in that level. So we have to be mindful not to transgress or overthink ourselves. Because of the familiarity some may do, but we have to be very cautious that our familiarity, because say for example if somebody is doing same service over and over and over, so he may become very familiar with the deities, he may become very familiar with the process. So we have to be mindful to act at whatever conscious and whatever advancement, inner advancement we are at. Okay. So I'll stop here. If you have any questions or comments we discussed from, or any additions. Hare Krishna. When the anarthas are removed and when his natural devotion is invoked. So that's the Vishwas. So opulence diminishing means it's not that today I offered paneer sabji, from tomorrow onwards only potato sabji. It's not that opulence is diminishing. The opulence diminishing means that he doesn't consider that Lord in his Vaikuntha opulence. So he feels that he is my friend. So that opulence, he no more sees as a Supreme Personality of Godhead like the devotees in Vrindavan, his Gopa friends. They don't see the Lord's opulence. So they say Lord is one of their co-mates. They say we are equal. So like even when the Lord lifted Govardhan hill, so he was holding the Govardhan hill, but his friend, what's his name? Who likes laddus? Yeah, Madhumangal. He was thinking, it was holding because I chanted mantras. They were thinking we put the sticks. So although Lord lifted in front of them Govardhan hill, but they think it's because of us. So they don't see that opulence of the Lord. What to speak of that? When Lord was just few months old baby, and when he killed Putana, Mother Yashoda and the other gopis, they were thinking, oh, Lord Vishnu had saved him. Lord Vishnu had saved him. And they chanted all the different mantras. So, may Lord Adokshada protect you this, may Gadadhara protect you that. So like that they chanted all the names of Vishnu, and Krishna is the Supreme Vishnu, and they don't have that opulence, seeing the Lord. And they don't see the Lord in that. So same thing, when Krishna killed so many demons in a very mystical way, still the Gopa boys, they don't consider, oh, Krishna is so great. They say Krishna is great, Krishna killed, but they never consider him as the Supreme Lord. So that diminishes, and they pretty much see on an equal level. So that comes in a very, very advanced stage. At sadhaka level, we don't transgress that, so we stay at whatever level we are and practice. But for us, at least to come that Vishwas and Mitra level is very good. Vishwas that, except rendering devotional service, there is no other duty in this world for me. So I am meant to do devotional service. Whatever condition comes, Krishna is there, and He knows, He is omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient Lord. He knows what is good for me. At least if we can able to come to that stage, our friendship to Krishna is success. That Krishna is there. And devotional service is the only one occupation for me in this world. Others may be there, because as long as the body is there, so we have to render some service to the body and those who are related to the body. But the prime thing is, we should not deviate. So that's very important. Hare Krishna. Look. Yeah.
Can be offended, yeah. So, is the whole coming back and developing our relationship with Krishna, why it takes so long? Because for so many lifetimes, we've made offence after offence after offence. And even in this world, with our normal friends, you can see that if you offend somebody, sometimes it can take years for you to develop that trust and relationship back again. You know, if someone offends you and they come and stroll and lie down in your house, you know, you're not really going to want that. But your friend who hasn't offended you, they can do whatever they want, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So can you, like, is that related?
Yeah.
Same with Krishna?
Because I heard in one lecture that devotee was mentioning that we don't have a capacity to offend Krishna, that Krishna cannot forgive us. We don't even have a capacity to do such an offense to Krishna, against to Krishna. But the offenses in Sanskrit, it is called aparadha. So the attachment to Krishna will diminish if we commit any offense. So basically, there are different categories of offenses are there. So offenses to the holy name, offenses to the service, to the deity, and offenses in relation to the devotees. And especially for the offenses in the deity worship or in regard to the Krishna, the Lord, is taking shelter of the holy name is enough. But when it comes to the offenses to the devotees, so because they are pet childs of the Supreme Lord, devotees, they are very dear. So Krishna himself, he says, when Ambarish Maharaj was offended by Durvasa Muni goes all the planetary systems, he finally goes to Vaikunta. Lord says, direct offense to me, I'm okay, but you offended my devotee, better you go to that particular devotee and beg pardon from him. And if he says, okay, but devotees are naturally, they are very compassionate and they don't consider. And I was reading in Bhaktivedanta Vaibhav, there's a question and answers in that from the Jaiva Dharma, he was mentioning that. So how an advanced devotee mood is. And advanced devotee always thinks that a devotee who is matured at least, he thinks, I am so insignificant. So how can any insignificant person can get offended? So a devotee and is at least those who are mature, even though somebody may be offended them, when they come for forgiveness, they will immediately say, okay, no problem, that's okay, but never commit this again. But to go and ask forgiveness is a big step from a person, because he is going out of his false ego. He comes out of his false ego and he doesn't want to break that relationship, and he'll go and ask. That's why it is very good practice in Vaishnava dealings that Gopalandesh Prabhu always tells us in the brahmachari classes. After service, you did some service together. Once you finish the service, it's a good etiquette. Ask, sorry Prabhu, if I have committed any offense knowingly or unknowingly. Because sometimes for the service to finish, we may rush somebody, we may do something, we may neglect. So in those situations you can genuinely ask. And if you genuinely concerned that you have committed some offense, go and directly ask that devotee. And pretty much the nama aparadhas one can overcome with the proper knowledge and associating with the devotees who are advanced and following their instructions. But to Krishna, Harinama. So we have to take strong shelter of holy name. And Krishna will not take any offense. If he has taken any offense, do you think he would allow to bhakti which is the only way to attain Krishna. So Krishna will not take anything. And
just adding one point. So here we need to understand two terms distinctly. One is sins
yeah,
and offenses.
okay.
These are
Mm.
two things, because generally we talk about offenses. So we need to distinguish between sins and offenses. So one is papa and another is aparadha. So in aparadha we have generally three categories. One is primarily nama aparadha and seva aparadha. Of course, offenses of devotees are there, which is part of the nama aparadha as well. So that is one category, whereas papa or sinful activities are different. So generally we stay in the material world. One, it is sinful activities, papa, and also it can be piety. Pious activities also can put us in this material world. So it is simply material desires. So that is covering us because of ignorance, and that is, placing here. So because we are unable to develop any relation to Krishna, because our consciousness is completely absorbed by material things. Now, when it comes to offenses, offenses are here specifically when you talk about offenses against the holy name or offenses in the deity worship. They are not sins as such. So they are considered offenses because they are not really allowing us to go closer to Krishna. So most of us may not be doing so many seva aparadha or nama aparadha in the previous lives. Sometime maybe to some degree, but generally no, because if you are devotees, then only we can really speak about nama aparadha or seva aparadha. Otherwise, they don't exist. For karmis, they are in their material realm and they don't have any seva aparadha or nama aparadha, as is explained, because they don't know about deity worship. They don't do any deity worship to commit any particular offense as such. So these two have to be distinguished. When we really look into this, in the Vaishnava aparadha, yes, Krishna will not allow us to go closer to him because of that. But if we see other offenses, we are not really allowing ourselves to go closer to Krishna. For example, maintaining all the material attachment despite knowing that we shouldn't. Say, for example, it is not, Krishna is not doing anything as such. We are not allowing ourselves. Similarly, even in many of the seva aparadha, we are not allowing ourselves to go closer to Krishna because we are doing the things which are not really pleasing to Krishna, or we are not being conscious enough to act properly. So, yeah, the Lord is not really offended. It's like, completely offended and, you cannot go near us. Krishna says, of course, when it comes to Vaishnava aparadha, he says, in Chaitanya Charitamrita it is mentioned, of course, that it is like offending devotees, criticizing devotees, like a pin, driving a pin to my body, like that. So that is Krishna considered seriously. However, it is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita again that Avishkarodi Pishanashapi Napyasuya. That is, he is not even envious of his own enemies. He doesn't have any enmity towards his own enemies. So in that way we can see the Lord's good qualities. So yeah, just some thoughts about it. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
For the nice class, Prabhuji. Yesterday, Damodar Prabhu mentioned if we serve Lord Krishna as our master and us as his servant, then we can go back home, back to Godhead, like serving in Dasyam. And today we are serving him in Sakyam. So how can we relish these two? Because we see when we go to school, we have our friends, but we can't serve them as our masters and us as their servants. We can play with them, we can share with them. So how can we understand this?
Because even in, very good question first, even among the normal friendship, So service is there. Service is there. You, say for example, your friend is sick. So you serve them, right? So you help them to take to the doctor, you help them give some water or whatever required. So that is service is there, even among the friends. So if service, friend doesn't mean just, I know him, I like him. So real relationship, real love among the friend is with the service. So for us, with the Lord, the service which mentioned here, we consider him as our suhrut. So my friend, he is dear to me. And we continue our service attitude in the servitude, in the sakya, in the fraternity. Why? Because when it comes to the friendship stage, he become very familiar with the Lord. So he no more considers he is my master. So even in the back in India, we used to have servants in home. Those who pretty much since their childhood they stay in that house and they serve. So we and the servants both grew together. So we pretty much act with them like on a friendly nature. So similarly, in our service, when we continue it longer term, so he also acts not just serving, he also acts as a well-wisher to the master. So that is coming to the Sakya stage, friendship stage. But even he is at the Sakya stage, he is advising his friend, but he will not lose his serving attitude. So as Prabhu mentioned yesterday, just by serving one can go back to Godhead, because in all the progressive stages, it may be servitude, it may be friendship, it may be parentally, it may be the conjugal. But among all of them, the servitude is the base level. So that we should not leave. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna. If you don't have any questions, we'll stop here. Grandhara Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.